Sai, we're here with Giri Uppalapati today, and Giri is very well known at the Atlanta Sai Center for all his input for service and all the service that he does. So today we're blessed to have him and have him share his story with Swami. Giri, maybe you can start by sharing with us how you came to Swami.
Sure. Sai. It's a little bit longer story, but I'll see if I can make it short. When I was a kid, I've always been Shirdi Baba's devotee. So what happened was, it's in 2004 August, my son Sham is born. So once he was born, so my mom sent Baba's pictures, and with that she sent Sathya Sai's pictures. Sham was probably 6 or 7 months old. When you give the toys, he never went for toys. He always used to go for Swami's pictures or anything when he was younger. Then when he was almost 3 years, we had to move to an apartment in Duluth. And there I met another Sai devotee who was he was the one who helped me to get that apartment. His name was Funny. So he was, I think, as you all know, he was a very hardcore devotee of Sathya Sai from his childhood. So when we both met, we became very good friends, and he started taking me to the service and everything, which I did not know what it was. So he just used to say, Sunday, let's go, and I used to go with him. But I never knew what Sathya Sai or anything like that. And there used to be a Sunday class, Vedam. So I used to learn the Vedam. So this was happening in 2000 April. So Funny told and Adipali, both of them, they both told me, Giri, we are all going to Puttaparthi. And anyway, Sham likes Sathya Sai. Why didn't you guys try to come? So they both asked, why didn't you just register it? Leave it to Swami. And I'm like, don't know, but let me see. You know how Swami works. I went and asked my boss, I'm planning to go to India. And believe it or not, in March, they laid off 2 people in my division. And I'm asking this question in April, saying, can I have a month vacation? I want to go to India. And the boss looks at me and then says, okay. And he got my vacation. And then I asked Nilima, I was like, can we go? And she said, okay, let me see. And she went and asked. And she got a vacation. Anyway, we landed in Puttaparthi. We all went together, a lot of us. It was an amazing journey, actually. So June 23, I landed in India. On June 23rd night, we took a train from Hyderabad to Puttaparthi. On June 24th morning, I landed in Puttaparthi. So I went, and me and Adipali went and sat in the line, and then we got inside and went to see Swami. That was my first time I saw Swami. And I still did not know that he was God. And suddenly Swami, Vedam starts and Swami comes, and then we actually see, and then Swami stops and talks, and then on that day we went inside the Mandir. We went and sat inside the Mandir. And I can tell you, Swami was like, I'm sitting in the, where you said, it's like gents and ladies. I'm sitting on the, there was some other, we don't typically sit on the end, right? Somebody else will be sitting it. And the right next is me, and right next to me is Adipali. I was sitting, and all I can see is Swami's he was passing by like this. I felt immense, I can tell you that was the happiest moment. So when I came out and when we were talking, I said this was the most happiest moment in my life, I could able to see Swami. And still I'm thinking, oh, I wish Sham should have got it, I should have, because Sham always liked Swami. So I was thinking that it was an amazing darshan, we had it. And then we went back to our rooms, and July 2nd we did a program. It went very well. Swami was so happy. I saved some money generally to give. So when I saw at Puttaparthi they are doing so many things, I thought, okay, let me do something. So I went into the office where I was writing the check, and I was giving it to them. They were good. The guy was telling, I think it's going to start. The darshan might start, sir. So I said, okay, I will go, and I just gave the check, and I was walking out, and I came out, and then the Vedam started. It was. So I had to jump from people to go sit in the back of that. When we started, it was 345 people. I mean, I'm including gents and ladies. On that day, it was 40.
You mean the pilgrimage group?
Pilgrimage group was
so a lot of people had left.
Yes,
okay.
There was like 40 people. So I went, there was a big gap, so I had to run quickly because when Swami is coming, everybody sits, and there is no pin drop silence. So I had to, before anything happens, I went and sat in the end. And when I went and sat in the end, and Swami comes and Swami stops, and he started talking to Funny, because everybody left. Funny was the lead for us that day. So he's talking to Funny, and then Swami talked to him, and then he finished his darshan, and he went and sat in the veranda. And Funny turns back from there, turns and laughs. And I'm in the other end because there was like 3 rows or 4 rows of people there. So I cannot even, I'm seeing why is he laughing, but I cannot understand why is he laughing at. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he laughed again, and then he turned back, and I'm like, okay. Then after 2 minutes, everybody stood up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand up. And then we are walking there. We all sat in front of the Mandir. And I'm like, okay, what is happening? Then they all, and suddenly somebody says, it's like we are getting an interview. I'm asking, what is an interview? And then they opened the door, and we all went and sat inside. And Swami walks in. And Swami comes, Swami sits, and everybody was asking Swami, can we have Pad Namaskar? He says, I will give it to everyone. And then once everybody started going up, I'm like, my mind is blank by the time. I'm like trying to grasp what is happening, because it's happening so quicker. And I'm like trying to think what is happening around me, where am I? Because it's Swami doing interview, and I think I never even imagine, or like I cannot express what it was like. So anyway, it's one by one was going, and my turn came, and I stood up, I went, everybody was asking, can I take the Pad Namaskar? I did not even say anything, I just fell on his feet. And then I fell on his feet, I stood up, I closed my hands, and then I started telling to Swami, it's like, Swami, my son always talks about you, he loves you. Thank you for blessing him. I'm trying to get the words out. I'm trying to recollect how we took it. I feel that happiness in me even now when I think of it.
Yeah, reliving it.
So please take care of him. And as I'm telling Swami, my son talks about you, and Swami replies, I know Ra Bangaru, I gave it to you. Swami said, I know, I gave him to you. And after he said, and he touched my forehead, it's a different feeling. I wish there is a word to express that feeling. I came back and sat, and I'm trying to comprehend what happened, and we finished it, I ran to my room, because once darshan is over, I ran, I took we catch the train, we went home. And it almost all took me a while to digest what he just said, because I always wanted, when I was reading Satcharitra, I always used to think, how come people never realized when God was living, nobody even went to see? And it took so much longer to understand that earning I had in me, that I missed that Shirdi Sai Darshan, I was blessed to have through my son. That is how I actually went into Swami's fort. I went for Puttaparthi, actually I went for Swami, thinking I wanted to show Swami that whatever he is always running after is here. But I never understood it's actually my journey or Nilima's journey to him, and that earning, that is how I end up. And let me finish the story by sending the last one. So year passed by, and suddenly after 3 months, Nilima comes and says, it's like, Giri, we are expecting. And I'm like very happy that is. And exactly, Sumi was due on June 26th, 2008. And suddenly on June 24th, 2008, 23rd, Nilima calls me and says, at our work, and says, Giri, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to come home. Can you please come home, please? And so I went home, we were thinking 23rd. And that night she was very not feeling well, and then 24th, very early morning, I had to take her to the hospital. And we were there in the hospital, and they were thinking, okay, what is going to happen to her? And but exactly almost like in the afternoon, she's had the labor pains, and we are blessed with a girl, Sai Sumedha, at 1:30 on June 24, 2008. It's exactly 1 year the first time I saw Swami. To the day. And that is how that was my journey to the Sai, which I'm always thankful to, and I feel I'm blessed. Sai Ram.